What's up guys, it's time for another FM Stadium Tour video, and today we're doing something a little bit different as I'm doing a Let's Build. Now, various family and friends have been asking for this video since I started my channel, seeing as we're pretty much all Plymouth Argyle fans. So today, as you may have guessed, I am going to be building Plymouth Argyle Stadium home park. I'm going to be building it with the new grandstand, which is planned to be built from November, December this year to about this time next year, next summer. Okay, so just a little bit of why I'm a Plymouth Argyle fan first. I started as a Plymouth Argyle fan when I was 11. If you watch the Emirates video, it becomes quite apparent why I'm a Plymouth Argyle fan. It's just basically my dad comes from there. If you watch the Emirates video, you actually realise why I became an Argyle fan when I turned 11, or around that time. I was actually an Arsenal fan up until that point, and my dad sat me down one day and said, right, you can either continue being an Arsenal fan and we'll get to see maybe one game a year if you're lucky, or what am I looking for? I'm looking for the flat roof design. There it is. Or you could swap and be a Plymouth Argyle fan, where we can go to pretty much every game where they play in London, because obviously I live in London, if you didn't know already from the accent. So yeah, I switched to Argyle, and at that point we were sitting at our dinner table, and at that point he immediately took out, after we'd had this discussion, 2 tickets to Plymouth Argyle versus QPR. So it was kind of a little bit of an ambush, saying to me, do you want to go and see your first ever football match that didn't have Arsenal in it? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And it actually turned out to be really nice. It turns out he'd won the tickets in a competition. Many people joked that he was the only one who wanted the tickets, so I never really bought into that, but we were in a stand all by ourselves. There was no one anywhere near us. So look into that as you will. But yeah, I'm just building pretty much Plymouth Argyle, like most stadiums, was built up over time as the club got more popular. But in 2001, I think it was, the club decided, you know, we've got about 10 million pounds in our pockets. Let's completely rebuild 3/4 of our stadium. At which point they demolished the bit that I'm doing now, all the bits that I'm doing now even, and completely rebuilt the stadium, just leaving the home grandstand, the Mayflower Stand, on its own, sort of stranded out there. And in real life it looks really old. If you go on Google Images or something after this and look up the stadium, you'll see that the Mayflower Stand is really old-fashioned. It's like really low down, and it's got 2 tiers, and it's all looks like it's falling apart. And I really shouldn't be saying this for a team that I support, but that's what it looks like in real life, guys. They went into administration a few years ago. I'm sure a lot of you know about this, and it was quite big in the news because, you know, Plymouth going to administration, that's quite a large news story. But after that, James Brent bought the club, and he's a great guy and everything. Big kudos to him for saving the football club, and he never really wanted to have the football club as his. He was just like, well, you know, if I have to own it, then I suppose I have to own it. But he never really wanted it, and anyway, he's taken it over and decided that when we build the new grandstand, we can have various facilities built into it. And you see this type of stadium around the country quite a lot. What I've already built, the generic sort of, well, in this game it's 30 rows. It's quite boring when you look at it on its own, but it's generic throughout lots of stadiums in the UK. Just one that springs to mind is Middlesbrough. Another one that springs to mind is Leicester City. I don't know, I think it's the King Power Stadium now, their one. Middlesbrough Stadium, the Riverside. They're just basic, 1 tier, very boring, But they are also very clever at the same time, because what you can do is, and when England bidded for the World Cup in 2018, this was part of the plan because Plymouth was a city chosen. They planned to just take the roof off and put another tier on top of it. So it's a very boring design, but it's also extremely clever and very easy to expand. But anyway, when James Brent took over, he decided that the club needed a new grandstand. That's not what I meant to do. Needed a new grandstand, and so decided to plan out the new Mayflower Stand. And there are various images around of it. They're currently going through the planning permission stage, and they're looking to get planning permission, obviously, from the council so that they can build it. And like that's another one, the Swansea Stadium. Like the Swansea Stadium, they want to build a corporate facility and a hotel into it so that it can make extra money, and that's something that James Brent is known for. He's known for hotels. That's his sort of business interest. So he wants to do that. He wants to build it into the main grandstand. What am I looking for? Looking for entrances. Medium entrance closed. Is that? No, that's not it. What am I looking for? I'm going crazy. Standard entrance closed. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for 2 standard entrance closed. There we go. Finally found them. Yay. Anyway, yeah. So he decided that this was what was going to be built. And again, big kudos to him. He saved the club. Without him, we might not have a Plymouth Argyle nowadays. But anyway, moving on. Just going back to the 2018 World Cup bid quickly. The club bid and was accepted as one of the host cities if England had won the 2018 World Cup, but we didn't. It was rejected. We didn't win the 2018 World Cup, and that is what I think is the main thing that sent us into administration, Plymouth Argyle, because there was all talk around the club at the moment, and the owners at that time were real pains. They wouldn't tell the fans anything at all. They were based in like Japan or something, so they were halfway across the world trying to run a football club, or not, as it seemed. It went into administration, but yeah, they just kind of ran it into the ground. They were planning to refund the whole football club thing with money from the World Cup, and it really didn't work out for them, in a sense of well, they lost the football club. It didn't go well for them. Yeah, the plans at that point were to build a 46,000 seater stadium, because the minimum for World Cup venues is 30,000, I'm told, and it's the same sort of rules as they use for picking Champions League and Europa League final stadiums. Yeah, they have to be over 30,000 seats. Obviously they have to have certain safety procedures in it, so it's all very, very boring. But yeah, moving on, Home Park. I've actually been there 2-3 times. I've seen 3 games at Home Park. The first of which was Wycombe Wanderers against Plymouth Argyle, obviously, and what am I keep missing what I'm looking for. Roofs. Special. Beyond the S. There we go. Special glass arch small. Right. Where was I? Oh yeah, Wycombe Wanderers. Argyle won 3-2, but it was really nothing special, that match. And just talking about Plymouth Argyle for a second. Obviously, I've seen them a lot in the UK. In London even, because I'm good like that. I've seen them a lot in London, and the best game I've ever seen for Plymouth Argyle was when they played Barnet, because of Scott Sinclair's goal. Now if I ever bring out the Underhill Let's Build, that's Barnet's stadium. I detail it quite clearly in there what happens with Scott Sinclair's goal, but it was the best goal I ever saw. If you type it into YouTube, Scott Sinclair goal versus Barnet, or Plymouth Argyle versus Barnet, it shows you just how good that goal was. And it was just a case of, he's gone around one player, He's gone around another player. He's gone around that player as well. Surely he's not going to score. The angle's far too tight, and then it's in the back of the net. It was a brilliant goal, and I don't think I'll forget it for a long time, especially with it being on YouTube. That's handy. Is that one? Or that's the one I want. Yay. Okay. Yeah, that's it really. So yeah, they've planned to build this new stand, and they plan to start it in November, I think it is, just before Christmas. Which I don't know what you guys think of it, if you're Argyle fans or not, but it's an interesting time to start building a stadium, because there's a lot of fixtures around that time, and Plymouth Argyle actually lobbied for the Football League to give them their derby games against Exeter and Torquay slightly earlier than usual in the footballing year, because they wanted to be able to fill the whole stadium instead of having this stand closed. But obviously that failed, seeing as they've got one of them in January, I think, so they lost that battle. But the Football League traditionally doesn't really listen to requests like that, so it's kind of like, yeah, well, we asked for it, but we had it coming, really. I'm nearly done here. I am aware that the roof is a different shape, by the way, different size even. I am going to fix that, just give me a moment. I'll also in a moment explain the different names of the stands, so if you just give me a moment. By the way, while I'm saying this, we have our own Twitter account, we have our own Facebook page, that I'd very much like all of you to check out and give us a like or a retweet when this video comes out, because it's really a good way of telling how many fans we've got out there. So just a little shameless plug there for the Twitter account and for the Facebook page. Whenever you guys have got a moment, I'd very much like you to give it a like. Okay, so I'm nearly done here. Boom, there we are, I'm done. Okay, so now that the whole stadium's done, I can give you a quick tour. This is the Mayflower Stand in real life. This is how pretty much as close as it's planned to be built. It's going to be 2 tiers with VIP sections along the way in the middle there, with the 2 VIP areas on each end, and yes, they are planned at different sizes, because the eagle-eyed ones around about you would have noticed that they're 2 different sizes. At this end we have the Devonport End. Now that's the end traditionally that all the really loud and really manly Plymouth Argyle fans stand and cheer at. They make a lot of noise, and it's closest, I think it's closest to the Plymouth dockyards, because Plymouth is a naval dockyard city, so that's called the Devonport End, because that's what the port's called in Plymouth. Then we move across to the Lyndhurst Stand. Now there's 2 reasons for it being called Lyndhurst. It's either somebody famous around Plymouth called Lyndhurst, or the road behind it is called Lyndhurst Road. It's one of those 2. But I'm not sure which one. I think it might be the person. Please leave a comment if you know, because I'd like to know. I know I'm a little bit behind on my Plymouth Argyle trivia today. And finally we have the Barn Park End. I know that one for a fact is because there's Barn Park Road behind the stadium. Now just saying, at the moment, in real life the Mayflower Stand as it is a lot lower. It's pretty much the same design, but it's a lot lower and a lot more old-fashioned, so the roof isn't made of glass. It's all very dark, very dingy, as I said before. The 2 corners, basically here, they have one very small and pushed back stand, so only about 50 people can fit in it. And on this corner they basically have a house. That's it. I know it's a little bit weird. If you look at it in real life, there is just a house on the corner there. It looks rather weird. But anyway, I think I'm coming to a close here, guys. Thanks for watching. I know this is a bit of a long video, but if you could leave it a like, I'd be extremely pleased. As I said before, we've got a Facebook page, Twitter page, we've got our own website as well. I'll put all the links in the description. Thanks for watching, guys. Laters!